Alright, I don't know about you guys, but I've been blasting Harry Styles' album all throughout my house. I'm trying to make the message clear that he is the only person who people should be listening to. But you know, that's just me. Anyway, hey guys, it's Sarah. Okay, so in today's video, I don't want to make this long because sometimes I feel bad for making really long videos, so I'm just going to keep it to a couple select topics. So my main topic today will be about Dan Wooten, formerly known as Dick Wattpad, and it's the article he wrote about Harry. So anyway, here's the latest news that's been happening in the past couple days.
Out loud like you're still around. No, no. And I miss you. I'm going back home to the West Coast. I wish you would put yourself in my suitcase. I love you standing all alone in a black coat. I miss you. I'm going back home to the West Coast. And if you shake your heart enough, she will appear. Tonight I think I'll be staying here. And you never did like this town. I talk out loud like you're still around. No, no. And I miss you. I'm going back home to the West Coast. I wish you would put yourself in my suitcase. I love you standing all alone in a black coat. I miss you. I'm going back home to the West Coast. Come on, everybody.
So guys, basically, if you haven't seen Harry Styles' Behind the Album video yet, it's on Apple Music. Don't know if you have that. I don't think it costs money, but it's only 50 minutes. Just get the whole family, gather around, get some popcorn, and watch that shit. No regrets. Also, it's kind of weird because everybody is shipping Harry with Mitch now, and I'm like, okay, I kind of see it because there was that one moment in the video where like they had this like little cute moment. Like, I get that. I'm not gonna ship them like I do Larry, obviously. Like, I think that they're just good bros. I think everybody wants a friendship like Harry and Mitch. How much you want to bet that people are gonna start making fan accounts for them? I mean, even Harry knows we do this stuff. It says the first talk Harry had with his band. They will ship y'all with each other, will adopt you, will cry over you, open update accounts. I think that's the most accurate thing ever about our fandom. And the fact that he knows that, like, I'm so proud. So basically, there's been a lot of talk of Harry and Louis both being in LA at the same time, but we all know that once they're in the same place together, they never stay in the same place. But this says, funny how Harry just got to LA and he apparently lives alone and has no one to see, yet he skips dinner with his friends who travel to LA with him, plus Louis lives in LA, and I'm not saying Harry missed dinner to be with Louis and his shit cooking, but I'm definitely saying that. I mean, listen guys, you can think whatever you want, but that's probably what happened. Also guys, we got some recent pictures of Louis in LA, and you guys don't know how happy I was to actually see these new pictures of Louis because we haven't seen him in so long. I don't know about you guys, but I have missed Louis so much. We haven't really seen or heard of him since like, what, February? But even with Louis' social media activity, it has decreased a lot. Now all Louis does is likes pictures of shoes on Instagram. But guys, I just can't get over how good Louis looks. He looks healthy, he looks happy, and I'm a proud mama. Can we please make a petition for Quiff Louis to stay? Like, that's just my opinion. I like it when Louis' hair is back like this. He looks great anyway, but I really feel like he should just keep it like that. Okay, now this is the topic I really wanted to touch upon in this video. This is the main topic. So basically, Dan Wooten, or Dan Wattpad, whatever you want to call him, Satan, he just did an interview with Harry, and we all thought it would be about like his music and, you know, the stuff he's been recently doing, but obviously because, you know, he's Dan Wattpad, he had to turn the interview a little bit and ask Harry about irrelevant personal questions that probably made him feel uncomfortable. So thanks, Dan. So Dan tweets, world exclusive Harry Styles on his music as therapy, 1D's future, and his sexuality in the most personal interview yet. And I also heard that he deleted that tweet. Maybe it's because it was a broken link, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's see how this article goes. So this says, I asked Harry about sexuality in pop, a topic in the headlines after Miley Cyrus spoke openly about her pansexuality. What's his take? Harry says, being in a creative field, it's important to be progressive. People doing stuff like that is great. It's weird for me. Everyone should just be who they want to be. It's tough to justify somebody having to answer to someone else about stuff like that. So has Harry personally labeled his sexuality? He replies, no, I've never felt the need to really, no. Would he like to elaborate? He says, I don't feel like it's something I've ever felt like I have to explain about myself. Okay guys, my opinion, Harry couldn't have answered that any more perfectly than he did. That was a great way to respond to that kind of question. And to be honest, I kind of agree with him. Like, why is he even being asked that question? Is it really important? Harry's like, I don't feel like I have to explain it to people. It's not something I really need to talk about or justify to people. And I totally agree. So basically, after I read this, I went on Twitter and I said, okay guys, based off this article, it just sounds like Harry could be pansexual, or he just doesn't want to get into it and he doesn't want to talk about it. And of course, I got a lot of people tweeting at me saying, oh my god, like you're assuming his identity, stop doing that. And I'm sorry if I caused any chaos on Twitter, sorry if I offended anybody, I already apologized. But a lot of you were like, Sarah, you shouldn't even need to apologize because you weren't assuming his identity, you were just giving your opinion on what it sounded like. And I think I'm entitled to my free speech, thank you. But basically guys, if you really just take a closer look at the interview, Harry just doesn't want to be boxed in a label. He doesn't want that title. That's basically what he was saying, which kind of sounds like things that pansexual people have told me before. So that's why I was assuming that maybe he's pansexual. I didn't say he was, but I said maybe. But yeah, maybe Harry's just the type of person who doesn't have a label at all. He doesn't want to be in a category, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe he doesn't identify as anything. Maybe he just identifies as Harry, and he would love anybody. But you know what, regardless of who he is, what he wants, whatever, he already said at the end of the day, people can be whoever they want, do whatever they want, and I think we should just leave it at that. But going back to the article, it's kind of weird how Dan Wooten just kept pressing, he kept cornering him, like asking all these questions. If he just asked it once, it would be fine, but he kept asking about Harry's dating life and relationships, and Harry has already said in the past that he doesn't like questions about crushes or relationships. So you'd think that if Dan Wooten kept up on Harry Styles, he would know that he doesn't like crush questions. Harry has already said that he likes his private life. He doesn't want the fans to know everything about him. He even said that in his behind the scenes of his album video. He wants to keep some parts of his life private, and he feels very uncomfortable when people know everything about him. People will never know everything about him. It's good to keep a level of privacy and secrecy about yourself so you have something to hold on to. So Harry says, I've never really talked about my personal life or relationships, and I don't like to. But Dan is basically saying, I can exclusively reveal Harry gave me the exclusive to his sexuality and private life. Yeah, I kind of noticed that throughout the interview. Dan felt like he had this sort of entitlement over this conversation, and Harry was trying to tell him, like, I don't feel like I need to tell you this. This says, I wonder how he has gone about dating during his time off. Harry says with a laugh, no, I'm not on Tinder. I don't really know. I try not to overthink too much. I don't really talk about it, I guess. The roller coaster affects different people in different ways. One of the ways that helps me dealing with that is compartmentalizing between working. All that stuff for me is just a different thing. Then they say, does he feel burnt by high-profile relationships from the past? And Harry says, you just learn. It's part of growing up. When we started, I was 16. I've kind of learned what makes me feel uncomfortable. That stuff to me doesn't feel like anything I've had to explain. Yeah, so what I've noticed from this interview was Harry keeps saying, this is something I never thought I'd have to explain, and I kind of agree with that. I think when it comes to his private life and his relationships and whatever he identifies as, I don't really think he needs to justify that to the public, you know, people who really aren't that close in his life. And maybe Harry's just confused. Maybe he doesn't know how to explain it. Maybe they should be asking about his music. And I think a really important thing to bring up is what Harry said here. When we started, I was 16. I've kind of learned what makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'm not sure if I analyzed this the right way, but how I took that was the girls that he dated before, maybe being with women like that has made him feel uncomfortable, and he knows that now. So maybe that was in reference to his sexuality, but I'm not really sure what he meant by that. So if you guys know, write it down in the comments. And also, guys, Harry did mention Louis. This says, in December, the band were in the same room at the same time for the first time in a year following the death of Louis Tomlinson's mom. Harry says, it's really difficult to see people under circumstances like that, but it was really nice to see everyone and get to support Louis. I know this is something that shouldn't be a big deal, and I shouldn't make a big deal out of it, but just the fact that he did say Louis' name. And no, guys, this is not a shipping thing. I'm just glad to hear that Harry is nice and he said that, regardless of what Louis and Harry are. I just love to hear that my boys are supporting each other. And then also this says, when I asked Harry why he chose not to go down the chart-friendly route of electronic music like many of his peers, he replied, it wasn't crazy conscious. I never said I don't want to make the type of music because I actually like a lot of that music. And this says, he really tried to get Harry to low-key shade Louis, and Harry knew damn well that he was doing and answered that perfectly. Okay, so good. I wasn't the only one who thought that Dan was throwing a little bit of shade, because out of the whole band, Louis was the only one who went off and did electric dance music, and Dan probably wanted Harry to be like, no, I hate that music. I would never make that music. Like, I hate it. But no, it's not like Harry said he didn't want to make that music. He said he doesn't mind that music. So again, props to Harry Styles for answering that perfectly. The thing that I'm happiest about is that I didn't leave there in a place of, I feel so suppressed. I never felt like I was faking it. I really enjoyed it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Of reuniting, he added, it's something I would never rule out doing. Right now, everyone's getting a chance to explore things they want to try, and it's really cool to see what they're coming up with when it's just them in a studio writing. This also says, Niall Horan raised the possibility 1D could return as a trio. Where does Harry stand with that? And Harry says, I don't know really. I can't say I've ever thought about it. It's an interesting one maybe. I don't think any of us would rule it out. To me, it feels like something that might happen in a decade, not 2 years. He says, right, okay, I think it's tough. I've enjoyed writing a lot, and obviously, I'm going to go on tour, so I'm doing that at least for the next little bit. He says, I don't know what timelines, but in general, it would be really bad for any of us to say, no, I don't want to do that again. So, yeah, absolutely, I'll leave the door open. So basically, this whole topic about whether One Direction is coming back or not, it's very confusing, because when they talk to the fans, they make it sound like they are coming back, like, in a year or two. But whenever One Direction gets interviewed, they make it sound like that, well, one, they're never coming back, or if they do come back, it won't be until like 10 years. Well, guess what? If they're not going to be back until a decade, my ass will still be here, waving that flag. I feel like I'm such a true fan that I would even be here in like 20 years. Like if they did that reunion tour and I was 80 years old, you bet your ass I would be there. So I don't know, to me it sounds like One Direction don't know when they're coming back, but they wouldn't rule out the possibility. I think that's what they're trying to say. They're leaving that door open. I think One Direction were just testing the waters. They went solo, they wanted to see how that would work. If it went well, they would keep doing it. If it didn't, they would have that placeholder back in the band to go back to what they were doing. I think it was a really smart marketing strategy. They didn't want to tell us like, hey guys, we're leaving, we're quitting, because they know that they would lose a fan base. So what they did is, to keep the fan base, they told everyone like, oh, we're just gonna go on hiatus for a couple years. But now look where they are. But guess what? Since their solo careers are so successful, they knew that the fans would support them anyway, even as solo artists. So either way, it works for them. And guess what? At the end of the day, I'm gonna be supporting One Direction, whether they're a band or solo acts. But I mean, some point in my lifetime, I need them to reunite again. So guys, anyway, that is it for this video. Hopefully it didn't keep you too long. And remember, at the end of the day, Harry didn't come out as gay. He also didn't come out as straight either. So he kind of left that open. So regardless of what you guys think he is or what Harry actually is, let's just enjoy his music and the wonderful person he is. So anyway guys, leave all your thoughts down below, and like always, I make a video whenever I want, so like and subscribe. All my social media is down in the description, and I will see you guys later. Bye.
You're my honey bun, sugar plum, pumpy umby umpkin. You're my sweetie pie.